So this is just a quick video on how to install the regulator tube extender on the Taipan Veteran. I got this from Ernest Rowe. He makes these, and it's basically like a power tune. It extends the tube, the plenum. That's what it is. The power plenum extends the tube after the regulator and makes it so that you can get a little more power or more efficient shot counts as well. So obviously you're going to take the whole thing apart is your first step. What I generally do is take this screw out right here off the side plate, and I generally stick it in the hammer adjuster. So I'll take the hammer adjuster out, and I'll take that screw and just stick it right into the end of the hammer adjuster. And then that'll make it so it's not hollow, and then it'll actually force the firing mechanism to push the pin in and degas. So doing that will allow you to get all the air out. And once all the air is out, then you obviously want to be safe and make sure, especially if you're dealing with any kind of high pressure air, that there's no gas in there whatsoever. You want to wait for it to be all out. I usually wait till it gets down to zero. I still wait a few seconds. I'll usually take that screw back out when I'm done, put it back in the side plate, and verify that there's no air. And I'll start taking the rest of it apart once I get it there. There's 6 screws on each of the holders that hold the brackets that hold the barrel and the tube. So you'll take all those out, obviously, as you can see. Remove the scope and get it all ready to disassemble. This probably is an easy 20-minute something that anybody can do, which is why I'm doing this video, just so anyone who's leery or scared or doesn't want to mess with it, this is a simple upgrade you can do on any veteran, and it's very easy. Once you get all these brackets off, like I said, next step is to loosen everything up. You're going to go into the side plate, and there's a little screw in there that holds the trigger mechanism in place. You want to loosen that, and that's that screw you see right there with the rod. Reason I want to loosen that is because that way the whole action will just come right off when you take it apart. Makes it real easy. So when you're working on it, you can separate it. Obviously, it should come loose really quick with no pressure. I did have to stick the probe in the end and use it for a little bit of leverage to get it started, but there's no screws that hold it together. And once you get it all unscrewed, it's just a matter of sticking the plenum on there and putting it back together. And I usually use a super loop. And I use that on all my O-rings, just to make sure everything goes back in nice and easy and everything doesn't dry out. Everything's lubed up properly. I usually wipe off all the excess, but I always do put lube on everything. And this is the plenum. I got it from Ernest Rowe. He makes them. He's a heck of a machinist and a hell of an air gunner. So I'll put that O-ring in there, and I also will lube the other O-ring or replace it if it's in bad shape. This veteran's only a couple months old, so I'm not going to replace the other O-ring because it's still in really good shape. All I'm going to do is re-lube it before I put this thing back together. But that just goes right into the tube and just screws right back hand tight like it was before. Most of the time with these PCPs, the pressure of the air is what seals everything and keeps it tight, but you want to make sure it's tight. I usually get it hand tight. And like I said, I'll re-lube this other O-ring here, and I'll put that back together. Once I screw it back in, you want to be careful when you screw everything in. You don't want to tear the O-rings. You don't want to force it. You just kind of want to just push it in. It should just go right in. You don't ever want to gouge those sealing surfaces on the O-rings, or you will have to replace them. But once you get it in there, you're going to screw it in, and that's the majority of the install. That's it. And you got to put it back together as it was. But that will take a lot of the time that you're doing. Like I said, this is a 20-minute install. I'll usually wipe all the excess grease off of it, and we'll get to putting it back together. Like I said, that action, you want to slide the firing, the trigger mechanism back into the back and tighten it back up, and make sure it lines up in there like it's supposed to. And once you get that line in there, tighten it down, and you're going to want to make sure that before you tighten everything down, the last thing you want to do is you want to check your trigger, make sure it works. And I've got a little video, a little clip up here I'm going to show you when you get to the point of putting it all back together. You can make sure that trigger's working. Otherwise, you're going to get it all together, fill it up with air, and find that it's not going to shoot. And you definitely don't want that. You want to make sure that when you're putting this back together, that everything mechanically is going to work as it was supposed to. Last thing you want to do is get it all together and do all that work and then have to take it all back apart. There's nothing more frustrating than that. And I can tell you, I've been there and I've done that many times. So try to, before I finish anything up like this, cover all the bases and make sure everything is back to square one. And if, like I said, just finishing up here, once you get all them screws in place, and I just usually get them snug. I don't over tighten them. I want that action to be moving freely. That way, when I flip the gun over, I want to make sure that the action in there is still accessible, so I can get to the trigger rod and make sure that it engages properly. Because if the sears aren't engaging properly, you are not going to fire it, like I said. Keep in mind, when I did this, I did not adjust the regulator. I'm happy with where it is. That is a completely different video. All I did is add the extender, the Power Plenum tube, the regulator extender. I didn't do anything to the regulator. If you want to do that, that's more involved. You got to pull the regulator out and replace it or adjust it. I did not do that. This is just if you just want to add this regulator extender tube for a power tune. Like I said, it'll increase your shot count, and it's going to give you, I'm told, anywhere from 20 to 35 more feet per second. You want to make sure, like I said, when you're putting this back together, you check your trigger mechanism here. And you want to make sure that the sear engages. And you can see I'm going to manually trigger it, and I'm going to make sure the trigger works. Now, the more important thing is you want to make sure while you're doing this that the safety works. So while you're doing this, go ahead and put your safety on, check it, make sure that the safety works too. If it doesn't, then it'll go off, and you don't want it going off. So you want to check all that. And what I'll do is put it at 200 bar when I'm done putting it back together. I'll probably let it sit overnight, make sure everything holds, and then I'll start messing with it. Thanks for watching. I hope this helped somebody out there, and I can't wait to shoot this thing. You guys, thank you. Like, subscribe.